Okay, so in this video, I am going to show you how to make this paracord handle that can fit on most water bottles that have a lip around the top. You can adjust the opening to your specific bottle size. You just have a buckle clip here and a little pressure clip here, and then about 9 feet of paracord to make this handle. And so it fits on, let's use this bottle as an example, fits on here. You would snug this up here, and then you have your bottle that you can now clip onto a backpack or your belt loop or something else. And you now have handy handle, but also 9 feet of rope if you should need it. And depending on the buckle that you use, you may have some other tools with you. One of the common buckles I use in a lot of times is this one that has the whistle on it, the compass, and a fire starter. So that can come in handy as well. Just use standard paracord. I will put a link to both types of buckles and pressure clips here, as well as the weight of the paracord, which is climbing strength paracord, in the comments of the video. So I'm going to start with about 9 feet of paracord, where make sure your parents assist you in melting off the ends here to kind of keep it all together so that you can use it without the threads inside coming out improperly. So the first step is to fold the string in half and find your bottom of your buckle. I like to open it to the top, so therefore I'm going to start in this section here, and you go in through here and feed your string through, so the buckle, so the loop is in the front. It's just a nicer look. Okay, so that's pretty simple. This next part is a little fun, and that is feeding through the little pressure clip here. And you want to make sure that it's on the outside, of your buckle, so that you're squeezing it in the manner this way. You don't want the squeeze part on the inside, you want it on the outside. So if you get it on the wrong side, you feed it through, you can always take it out and refeed it. So I'm already a little lopsided here, but that's no big deal. So here we go, feeding them through. And this can sometimes prove a little problematic if you've melted these off in a flat instead of rounded scenario. So I'm going to bring this on up through and make sure that I got in the direction I wanted. I did. The paracord was just a little twisted. Now I am going to test the size of my opening to make sure it's got plenty of room to come through my water bottle of choice, so that I can easily take it off and on, but I want to use as much as I can for my handle, so I don't want too much, but I do want it to come off easily. So that seems about good. All right. So now we're basically going to start and feed it through the other end and start our braiding. Pause that. Okay, so now we are ready to make our handle, and so we're gonna follow those two. We're gonna make it smooth from here, from the pressure buckle, and we're gonna follow it all the way up until we have our two ends, and then we're going to feed them in the same order from the inside of the buckle out until we get to about 8.5 inches. And you can use a standard ruler or a tape measure. I happen to have a tape measure from my sewing kit, so that's about 8 inches. It's not an exact science, and if you find you like it longer, that's fine. So now you have a lot to work with, and these first couple are a little difficult. So now we have our 2 strands, the loose ones up front, and what's going to be our handle at the back. So we've got these 2 pieces here. So you're going to take the right one and you're going to weave it under your what's going to be your handle and under the left side one. So you're under all 3. Okay? And then you're going to feed it back into itself. And like I said, the first couple you kind of got to hold snug, get it started. Okay? So now we're going to take the left side and we're going to feed it. And it's going to kind of look like this little, you're going to keep this dimple, and here's the back side, and then here's the right side, and it's going under and over. All right. Oops. I'll backdrop there. I'll make sure I'm keeping them even. So again, getting started is a little more tedious, but once you do, okay, so we loop. So when we got the right side, we loop the left side underneath. So we basically have 2 loops. The left is under the right, and it comes over top of the 2 handle portions, and there you go. And it's again twisted like a hose, just kind of work it back. And now with the right, under and over. There's probably better videos that know the proper wording and technique, but hopefully this will help you. Okay, so it's starting to look like a pattern. So under, you got under, so we loop under, and we bring the other piece, and we go through here. A lot of people call this kind of a 4 shape. And so then you see you have your loop here, but you don't have your loop here. That's how you know you're going on this side next. Bring it behind the handle part, but on top of the other cord, and then the other cord comes around and goes through the loop. Oops. So we have the loop here, but we don't here, so we know this is the next side, behind, and then we bring the spare one underneath it and over top of the handle and through that loop created. And as you work through this, it gets easier to kind of handle and see the pattern start to come through. And it's really cool if you have multicolored, and so it starts changing colors. Again, we have the loop here, so we know we're over here. So if you have to kind of stop and come back to it, that's kind of how you can tell where you're picking up. So I'm going to pause the video. I'll show you a couple more. See? Loop. So that means we're starting over here. We got it behind, under, oops, and over. Kind of awkward with the phone camera between me and the bracelet, so bear with me here. Okay, so I'm going to do I'm gonna do the rest and I'll bring you back into the video. If you get it messed up, it's not a big deal, but if you feel the need, you want to kind of start over, that's fine. Again, it looks a little odd when you're getting started. You can pull it tight, like this one is super, super tight. And I actually did 2 different threads on this one. But then when you do that, you don't have a single piece of paracord for the purposes of using for an emergency. So that's something to keep in mind. But you can do it super tight, or this one, which is kind of on the loose side. And then, so I could actually scrunch this up really, really tight if I wanted to, or spread it out so that it was nice to handle. All right, so I will bring you back in just a minute when I'm closing it up and show you how to do that. All right, so you can see now that I'm coming close to the end. So my strings are getting smaller and frankly easier to manage than the longer ones. So we're just gonna finish this up a little bit. I'm gonna need a little bit to work with because essentially we're gonna weave these ends up into here. Because our pressure is on the main strand, this is really just a decoration. So if we can secure it in a way that we could unattach it fairly easily if we needed to for, you know, an emergency or something where we might need a rope, that is the ideal situation. So I really don't have much to work with, so I think I'm going to start. Somehow I ended up lopsided. Even though we tried very hard to be very level, it still ended up lopsided, probably because of my stitches somewhere along here. So I'm going to take the short one, and really I'm going to use a crochet hook because that happens to be what I have in hand. And so I'm going to try and weave my crochet hook on the inside up the buckle a distance, and hopefully this will work. Grab it, grab my little piece here, and hopefully it's gonna work because I've actually never tried it this way. And I'm weaving and then just pulling this through, and you are probably going to need Mom's help with this if you have it. The other option might be like a thick yarn needle, or even a upholstery needle, because those tend to have bigger eyes to work with. You know, if you use a needle, you're going to have to stick it through before you grab the thread towards the end. All right, we're doing pretty good here. So we're going to get it up a little bit further. And then once we do, we'll chop off the whatever's sticking out. Okay, so I'm having to kind of, yeah, there we go. I think that's as far as I'm going to get it. And it's kind of hidden in there pretty good. Can't see it. It's snug. So that's really doing what we want it to do. So we want it to stay, but essentially be able to pull it out if we need to. And so now we've got that one snug in there, so we're gonna pull this one. And really I want it to come down through here to loop across. So I'm gonna go up again. This one's longer, so I'm gonna try and go in a little bit deeper. It's tighter to work with now because I did a pulled tight on there. Oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to be making you dizzy. And I am certainly open to suggestions on how to better handle this. But this is how I found I prefer to weave it over what I've done in the past, which is, and don't do this on your own kids, but I've used a lighter to melt the threads together. And that is another option, and you can still, I mean, essentially you can still break it apart, but this is the more ideal route. All right, so we got it through. I'm gonna try and give it an angle so I can grab and pull it back in. And I wanna give some room here. So essentially, oops, I want to pull in this end. Okay, I want to leave this piece hanging so I have room to pull it through. And this is basically the toughest part of the handle. And again, the melting part, if your parents want to help you with that, is certainly an easier route to go. But I do think the no burning part is probably better. So I'm going to pause this and pull this through and show you what it looks like in a minute. Okay, so let me kind of show you what I did. I was able to pull it through, but while my needle was still in there, I kind of used one of my knitting needles to kind of weave it up a little bit and move it some more so that I could get it into the tight weave. So there it is. The little piece is still sticking out here, and that's perfectly fine. This is not going anywhere. This is still a very secure handle. Again, this bottom piece is not going to break apart in any way, shape, or form. So now I'm going to use my notch scissors. See, my scissors have a little notch in there for this, and just trim off that excess. And then I'll wiggle that through, and voila, you've got your handle. So hopefully this is helpful if you weren't able to join us. Yeah, and maybe you'll come up with some unique colors or a different pattern that you can share with me at our next meeting. So thank you.